Jackie Maribe, alongside her former fiancé Jowie Irungu, did they or did they not plan and execute the murder of Jackie's former friend and businesswoman Monica Kimani in 2018? The court has ruled that the duo has a case to answer and the trial will resume in May 2023. However, this has been a long and winding case since it broke in 2018. And the irony of this matter is that Jackie Maribe, who was at that moment a high-flying news anchor, was the one to announce this news. So, did she or did she not plan and put this heinous crime into motion alongside her former fiancé, Jowie Irungu? We're going to get into that, including all the unfoldings that have happened in the past 5 years, the 40 witnesses that prosecution brought on stand for this case, including a Reke officer. Reke is one of the creme de la creme security teams in Kenya. We all know them. They save hostages, they fight against terrorists, they protect diplomats and top politicians or top people in Kenya. So there's witnesses from the gatekeeper at Lamuria Gardens where Kimani used to live, who places Jowie at the apartments on that day. Jowie is the last person to see Monica Kimani, and Jackie Maribe's car was seen around that place in the night and at the moment that the prosecution estimates Monica to have been murdered. This is a very disheartening case. Monica was found tied, both hands and legs, and placed in a bathtub in her house. So we're gonna get into this, guys, but first take a second to like and subscribe to this channel. Welcome here if you're new. This is the Mind Girl Show, the place where we talk about different topics, including true crime, mental health, and other issues that affect society and affect us every single day. This is a jack of all trades, but entertainment and information is guaranteed to give you something new to think about or just ponder. That's why I'm doing these true crime cases, because they help us learn and choose better friends and protect ourselves. So the Jowie Irungu and Jackie Maribe case is one of those stories that teach you about friends, fake friends. They teach you about bad relationships, a relationship where two people come together but they are not supposed to be together because they are bad for each other. It also teaches us about pretenders, because Jackie Maribe was the one to announce this news when it broke. She was a Citizen TV anchor at that moment. But if she did plan and execute this murder, isn't that hypocritical to announce the death of your friend on national television, knowing full well you might have taken part in the murder? Everything I'm going to talk about in this channel and on this specific case is alleged. Nothing has yet been proven because the trial is in May, as I had said earlier. But we're going to break down the case. We're going to check the facts from A to Z, from what happened when Monica Kimani landed from Juba to the time that we are talking about this story today, 5 years later, when the trial is going on. The prosecution has named Jackie Maribe and Jowie Irungu as the two principal offenders in the case of the murder of businesswoman Monica Kimani. Monica Kimani was a successful businesswoman, a young woman that had family businesses in Juba, and she would go between Kenya and Sudan, South Sudan, because her family is in Kenya and her businesses were in Juba, so she would alternate. And on this particular day, Monica Kimani had just landed from Juba, and she was to stay at her house for a day or two and transition to Dubai, where she had other businesses there. So on this fateful day, the gate man explains that an unknown man, whom he has since established to be allegedly Jowie Irungu, walked into the Lamuria Gardens apartments in Kilimani, where Monica Kimani used to live. This person gained access at the gate because they knew they'd been there before and they knew Monica, so they had a way of getting across security at such a high-end place where not everybody gets in or out. So the gateman told prosecution and told the judge during the witness statements that this man was wearing a kanzu, a white kanzu, and a black puff jacket, half jacket, got into Monica's apartment, and 1 hour later the person was seen leaving again. Concurrently, at the moment that this man in a kanzu is seen coming into Monica Kimani's home and then an hour later coming out, Jackie Maribe's case was placed around the scene. So Jackie Maribe's car was captured by the traffic cameras, having been somewhere around there at that moment, not just passing but cruising back and forth along the road, but not specifically standing or waiting for this person or anything at the Lamuria Gardens gate. However, as we know from many of these true crime stories, that coincidences are never real. Something must have been going on, allegedly, because we are not saying anything is fact at this moment because the trial is coming up in May. I'll be here to catch it up with you, but for now everything is alleged until there's a conviction or another outcome in the case. But at the moment, Jackie Maribe and her former fiancé Jowie Irungu are the principal suspects, and the court has decided that they have a case to answer after listening to more than 40 witnesses in the past 1 year during the witness statements. So the prosecution is confident that the case brought against Jackie Maribe and Jowie Irungu is going to do well and that they'll get a conviction. So for us, we're gonna wait. At the moment, let's continue recapping what happened on that day. And then Maxwell Okoth, who is a Reke squad officer and Jowie Irungu's friend, also gave in his witness statement the story about that day where Jowie Irungu took him to Kilimani and told him to wait at a particular petrol station near a walking distance near the Lamuria Gardens, where Monica Kimani was found murdered in her home on that night. So the Reke squad officer, who is also Jowie Irungu's friend, says that Jowie told him to wait in the car. He went, and a few minutes, let's say like an hour, all this happened within the span of an hour or less, he was back. He told him to drive off. He told him that the Reke squad officer told at this point, this Reke squad officer is not on official duty. He's here because of his friend Jowie Irungu, whom he'd driven to meet somebody in Kilimani. When Jowie came back to the car, he told this Reke squad officer, his friend, that he had an argument with the person he'd gone to see, and they did not finish the conversation in good terms. That's what he said, and they drove off. Then a few days later, when Monica Kimani's family could not reach her, nobody could get her on phone, and she had not communicated on social media or anywhere. So the family was worried, as they should, because she normally talked to her family very often and would chat in the family WhatsApp group and was just active. So somebody always knew what she was up to and something. But after not hearing from her, the family had to come to her home because they knew she was here, although she was supposed to fly to Dubai for business. So when they came to her home, they found the most gruesome, the most heartbreaking scene that a family member or a friend can ever see. They found the body of Monica Kimani tied. The hands were tied, the legs were tied, and she was stuffed in her bathtub. Remember, her throat was slit. So she died from this. Her throat was slit, sorry. This was gruesome. The person who did this left her there like a bag of garbage in her bathtub, dead. The family was so shocked, and they reported this to the police station, where the investigation began immediately. A few days later, Jowie Irungu was arrested on the suspicion of murdering Monica Kimani after the police had done phone records investigations. The CID are very good at investigating, so never think that Kenyan policemen or the Kenyan CID and intelligence services are jokers. These people investigate, and that's what they did in this case. So they found records placing Jowie's phone on the cell phone towers near Lamuria Gardens on that day. They found traffic cameras showing Jackie Maribe's car cruising around back and forth near Lamuria Gardens on that night. So they began interrogating the gateman, other friends, and whatnot. At the beginning, Jowie Irungu was the only person that was charged with this murder. During the investigation, they found some of the perceived evidence, such as the kanzu that the gateman was talking about and other things that would have been evidence, had been burnt at Jackie Maribe's home in Langata. So allegedly, the prosecution states that Jowie Irungu came from Lamuria Gardens. His friend dropped him off somewhere. He came back home, took his clothes, everything he'd used in that issue, and burnt them. The police actually found some of the remains of the burning things at Jackie Maribe's compound, where the house girl ascertained that on that night, Jowie Irungu, was burning some things after he came home. Shortly after, Jowie Irungu was found to have a wound, a gunshot wound, which the prosecution says that Jowie has alleged to have shot himself. Jowie shot himself. So the prosecution says that Jowie shot himself because he wanted to mislead the investigation and to just continue creating confusion around this thing. Remember, guys, if you've forgotten or if you didn't know, Jackie was engaged to Jowie at this moment when this crime was happening, when the investigation began. They had been engaged for a few months, so they were living together in Langata. And what's also interesting is that Jowie has history with guns. He's a trained security officer, so he has been working in the Middle East with some of the security firms, allegedly, according to his stories. We don't know. There's no solid proof of his work history, but he says, and he's good with guns, so he said he was trained and he's been working as a security officer in the Middle East. So Jowie knows how to use guns. The probability of him shooting himself accidentally is close to 0. That's why the prosecution believed that Jowie was doing this to misguide the investigation, to just bring confusion around this entire case. Anyway, the prosecution did not back down. They kept going. And after a month or so of investigation, guess what? Jackie Maribe was also charged as a principal offender alongside her then fiancé, Jowie. So in November 2018, they were both conspirators. The prosecution believed that these two people planned and executed the murder of businesswoman and also Jackie Maribe's friend, Monica Kimani, on that fateful and gruesome night. The prosecution brought forth, as I stated, approximately 40 witnesses. It began with 33 witnesses and kept adding more. By the time 2022 December came, the court had heard from 40 witnesses on the prosecution's side, giving different accounts of what went on, including the gateman, the Recce squad officers, some of their friends, some of their business partners, anybody within that solar eclipse, anybody within that Maribe and Irungu environment was up for investigation, and the prosecution believed that the 33 initial witnesses and who then became 40 had something interesting to tell the court, and they did, to a point where Justice Grace Nzioka has stated that the duo has a case to answer in May. The defendants, Jackie Maribe and Jowie, had previously, in December, when they were giving their statements, had sought for the case to be thrown out because they continue to maintain their silence. Jackie states that she was nowhere near this issue and didn't know what her ex-fiancé was doing. Jowie stated that the government pathologist found a known DNA in Monica Kimani's home. So there was a known DNA of a strange man in Monica Kimani's home. So Jowie Irungu, sorry, I keep confusing this. Jowie Irungu's case and entire defense is that he is not the person whose DNA was found in Monica Kimani's home. But the prosecution believes there's overwhelming evidence to show that the two planned and executed this thing together. Remember, guys, they are being charged as co-conspirators, which means the court believes they planned this together, they helped each other and ensured that Monica Kimani was dead for whatever reason, allegedly. So far, we are not sure. We are going to be following this case as it goes on trial in May 2023. This is April 2023, and we are just recapping what happened before. So once the two got to the stand in 2019, the court granted Jackie Maribe bail of 2 million shillings in bond of 2 million shillings, or a surety amount of 3 times this. So a surety amount of 6 million Kenyan shillings, but she paid the 2 million bond. She was released and was given no fly order, so her passport was taken and she couldn't fly out of the country. She was just basically in Nairobi, and she had to show proof of residence, where the prosecution or any other government officials involved in these investigations would find her anytime they needed to question her or follow up on the case as it built up to this moment. So Jackie Maribe was given bond and she went on about her life. She took a low profile life after this, because remember, guys, Jackie was a high flying, very respectable, very admired news anchor in Citizen TV. So when this came and people realized, there's something fishy going here, on here. Jackie Maribe, after getting the bond and coming back home, she resigned from her duties from Citizen TV and just took a low profile life for the duration of the mentions and every other thing. On Jowie Irungu's side, Jowie was denied bond or bail by the judge, who stated that he was a flight risk, one thing, and he also had experience. Not even experience, he was a highly skilled security officer. So his experience with guns and all that other things, or even just as a security man, meant that he would pose significant threat to the witnesses, and the prosecution did not want to threaten him, threatening the witnesses or interfering in the case. So they held him without bond the entirety of 2020 until in early 2021 when the court released him. The three things that made the judge deny Jowie bail were that he was a flight risk, he did not show proof of residence. As I've shown you in Jackie's case, that the court needs to know where you are, your location, and how they can find you at any point. So Jowie did not give proof of residence because, remember guys, at this moment Jowie was living with Jackie. But when the case broke, the duo had also broken up. When things started getting heated, they broke up. So by the time they were standing the mentions in court, Maribe did not want Jowie in her home. She wanted to distance herself from this man and didn't want anything to do with him because she was claiming she did not know anything about the murder. So Jowie was denied bail because he could not show proof of residence. He had training in guns, as I've explained, and he did not have the money to pay for bail. But 18 months later, a judge reviewed the case and granted him 2 million cash bail, which Jowie did not also fulfill. He doesn't have the money to fulfill the cash bail, the 2 million cash bail, which led him to staying in jail in remand for another 1 month, where he then showed proof of residence and was released. The judge released Jowie because he had no prior convictions or charges. He had no criminal record. He had no businesses outside the country, so he could not run away to where he had nothing to do outside the country. And his family took him in their home in Nakuru. So they found the money, they got the money, whatever means, they paid the cash bill, and Irungu was off. Off he went. But the case kept going. He was released in February 2020 from jail. But at that moment, the pandemic had hit. The courts were not as active, as everything had taken a standstill, because remember, COVID came to Kenya in March 2020. So the court case stagnated for some months while the investigators kept doing their job at this moment, although at a slower pace. In fast forward to 2022, between that there have been mentions. The duo kept coming in and out of court as the prosecution lined up their witnesses. As you've seen, the prosecution had too many witnesses in this case, close to 40. The duo pleaded with the judge to acquit them of this crime. That was in 2022, because there was a known DNA of a strange man found in Monica Kimani's house. So this duo was clinging on to this, that somebody else must have been in this home who killed her, despite the witnesses placing Jowie in the apartment, Lamuria Gardens, despite the friend saying he had escorted Jowie somewhere close to Lamuria Gardens, the Reke squad officer, despite the traffic cameras capturing Maribe's cars around the place. The duo claimed that Maribe, in her defense, said that she never knew Monica Kimani at all and she did not take part in her murder. Jowie, on the other hand, defended himself, saying that his DNA was not found there and somebody else's DNA was found there, so it must have been this other person that committed the crime. At this moment, the prosecution had rested and the defendants also rested after maintaining their innocence. So the judge was supposed to give his verdict in February 2023, which they did. Judge Grace Nzioka, was supposed to say whether the case goes on or if it ends there and it's thrown outside. So on the day of this mention, on this day, which was February 2023, Jackie Maribe and Jowie Irungu were escorted to court with their family and friends for support to listen on this verdict, including Jackie's very good and all-time friend Itumbi, who is a very powerful man in government, and other friends and family. But the judge was a no-show. The judge says that he was indispensable, that she could not, for whatever reason, she could not show up in court on that day. So the court officials told the defendants and the prosecution that this matter had to be adjourned until further notice. So the judge later on gave their statement and says that prosecution has provided overwhelming, sufficient, and clear evidence of these two being involved in the planning and the execution and later covering up this murder together. They did this together. That's allegedly, according to the prosecution, and the judge also said, okay, this prosecution has done a good job at bringing the witnesses. We've seen 40 witnesses. They have done a good job at providing sufficient evidence. So the judge says, come on, let's go to trial and hear the prosecution out. The defendants can defend themselves and we'll go from there. We'll get a judgment after listening to the evidence, after following everything up. So the trial is in May, and at the moment, Jackie Maribe, as I've said, Jackie Maribe and Irungu are not even in speaking terms. They can't even stand each other. If you see, look at this picture, if you see them in court, they are disgusted with each other. That's despite being co-conspirators and principal accused persons in this case. Anyway, I'm going to create another video talking about the Jackie Maribe and Jowie Irungu relationship aside from the murder trial. So we're going to have a different video up on this channel discussing and breaking down the entire relationship, where I'll also give my opinions. But for today, I cannot give my opinions on this case because it's still ongoing, and we'll be following up to see what comes up, and then I can give my opinion. But for now, like, subscribe, share this video so that we can wait for the trial together, and I'll be here to break it down to you, for you guys to analyze it, and we'll have fun with this. I know a woman lost her life, and I'm not saying we'll have fun with this because she lost her life. Come on, I'm saying we'll have fun with this because we are interested in knowing, did she or did she not take part in this? Did they do this, or has this been wrong accusations the entire time? Has the real killers, has Monica Kimani's killer gone free because the prosecution has focused solely and primarily on this duo of Jackie Maribe and Jowie Irungu? We also need to know, if they were wrongly accused, then who was the killer? Who killed this young businesswoman in such a gruesome way, leaving her tied, her legs and her hands tied, dumped in her bathtub, and her throat slit? We're going to know more about this in May as the trial goes on. So keep it here, like and ring the notification bell so that every time I post an interesting video, you'll get the notification and you'll be part of the premiere gang. I love to have you here. I'd like to hear more about your comments and worries or even suggestions and even suspense on this case. Share them with me below and I'll engage with you in the comment section. But for now, I've been glad that you are here with me for the episode. See you in the next episode where I'm breaking down the Irungu and Maribe relationship. It's a whirlwind romance that unfortunately ended with such a high-profile case and a high-profile murder of the businesswoman. But we're going to see how this relationship began and where it is at this moment in the next video. So I'm happy to have been with you guys as we recap this case. What have you found? What have you learned? What was interesting with this recap? Tell me so that we know as we go into the trial, we know what some of you are interested in knowing, so that I'll bring it up for you every day that the accused are in court. We'll be here sharing the story, summarizing it up and discussing this case because it's very interesting and very sad. It's sad that a young woman lost her life in this manner and that her friend might have allegedly been part of the planning and the execution. So you wonder, what was the motive? What was the motive? It really brings up interesting questions about the friends we have, because we have seen that Miss Jackie Maribe has denied ever knowing Kimani. Anyway guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being here with me. Like, share, hit the notification bell, and don't forget to subscribe, please. It helps the channel grow and it will help me bring you more stories, more gut-wrenching true crime stories and other commentaries. Every single day there's a topic I'm talking about. There's a discussion on this channel. You don't want to miss out. Bye.